I'm really happy to be here. And after such an enlightening talk from Professor Nakib, the question is really why bother, right? Why should you be bothered? And probably we will talk about it a little bit. I have a lot of light on my eyes, so but I'm trying to guess like how many people are there. It looks quite many anyway. So inshallah, today I will talk about a little bit about what I've been doing, and I will talk about after very nice discussions about pure science. Now we will go to a little bit on the applied issues. In Bangladesh, the story started in 2018, 12 May 2018. That is when the first geostationary satellite was launched by SpaceX from Florida. So the SpaceX have revolutionized the space industry in a way that they have found out a way to reuse the launching pads again and again. For one of the biggest costs for satellites are actually when you launch the satellite, then your launching pad is actually not usable anymore. So first time when they have invented this Falcon 9 platform, and the first satellite to be launched by that platform was actually Bangladesh Satellite 1, which is BS1. Till now, they have actually using the same platform, they have launched more than 400 satellites using that Falcon 9. So we are kind of in that way we are, we have created a kind of history. But the question is that how is it helping us? Question is why is it needed? The question is what can we do about it? And then, like Professor Naki, why bother? Why should we really worry about it and so on? So one of the things that is very important is that there are so many research available that once you actually provide connectivity to people, the more people that you connect to, the better the society gets into. There is also a research that a few percentage of GDPs get improved when the connectivity, options are available to people. And we see this in a multiple ways. Just think about all the fintech applications in Bangladesh, like Bikash, or other fintech, Nogod. There are a lot of debates nowadays. But you see what happens is that once you have a way for transactions that is very easy, that doesn't require you to carry a lot of cash, and you can at any point of time, at any place, you can actually do a business that really eases life. So this is what actually connectivity does to a society. So I will talk about this a little bit. In Bangladesh at this moment we have around 50 million plus people who are connected. So you can see that there is a gap. Our population is somewhere in the order of 180 million. So we still have a quite large gap that people are still not connected. And then we also have situations where the city areas are connected with certain quality, while the rural areas are not connected in the same way. So there actually remains a lot of room for improvement. Once you provide the connectivity everywhere, then you can actually create a lot of new businesses, new economic activities. For example, we have using the BS1 in this year actually we have connected 111 remote sites, the sites in the islands where we have connected the union health centers, we have connected the Upajala UN offices, we have connected some of the schools, we have connected some of the police stations and so on. And what we have done is that, so once a remote place is connected, a doctor may be sitting somewhere in Dhaka or somewhere, can actually provide some education, some sort of healthcare services, or a qualified nurse or qualified medical professionals can be somewhere else, but still provide the services in a very remote place, somewhere in the island, in the Bay of Bengal and so on. So you have all those possibilities that you can actually introduce once you have the connectivity. There are a lot of things that are needed. Just think about it. I mean, if we can do the traffic control in the cities, if we can do the crowd management in the cities, the quality of life will really improve in Bangladesh. And that in that way, what we call smart cities. If we can create smart cities using IoT applications, and then you make sure that all those IoT devices are connected. In that way, you can actually create a lot of good use cases. One of the biggest problems in Bangladesh, that is, we are already seeing it. One issue that in the previous talk we talked about, the environmental issues, the climate issues. And once we are getting into the climate challenges in near future, there also I think once you are connected, you provide the connectivity, then you can really control a lot of things. For example, deforestation. Deforestation has become so endemic in Bangladesh. Sometimes people talk about corona. I tell them, no, corona is not the pandemic. The pandemic is actually we are destroying the habitats in Bangladesh, the green habitat in Bangladesh, we are destroying like anything. We don't care about it at all. But at the same time today I had a news that I was really happy about, that 1.2 million, 12 lakh, the plants were also distributed this year, which is also good, meaning that awareness is actually increasing. But deforestation has become a big issue for Bangladesh. We do a lot of satellite images, and then we can really see that there are areas where it's in a disastrous way. Trees are being cut and so on. And then, of course, once you have more and more autonomous services, digital services, then you also increase the productivity and efficiency. Just imagine, if you can sit at home and do something for which you don't need to go to an office, so the traffic will reduce. People will not go to the road because people can just sit at home and get things done. Nowadays that many of us, I have lived outside Bangladesh for 30 years, and it's now exactly 6 months that I'm living in Bangladesh, and I loved one thing very well. My bank account is in the Prime Bank. I haven't been to Prime Bank yet. Yeah, that's really excellent. You can do things online, you can take care of your money, you want to transfer here, you want to pay this bill, pay that bill. You see, once you start online services, because you have the connectivity, and then actually I also don't have to take my car out and go to an office and so on. In that way you reduce the pollutions, you improve the carbon footprint, you improve the traffic situation and so on. What I wanted to say is that actually it's very important. Sometimes we don't really think about it, that how digital connectivity really improves lives. Once we start thinking about it, there are so many ways that you can improve. Now I will come to the point that why is it that satellite connectivity. So we know that the way we are connected is one of the ways are our phones. So you are either a Grameenphone customer or a Robi customer or Banglalink customer, so you are connected with this. The other option is you are connected fixed lines. You have the fiber optic connection or some sort of Wi-Fi connections in one locality where you are connected. Still, I have shown here that there are only 50 million plus customers, people who are connected, meaning that there is a large part of the country where still we don't have those kind of options. Still we don't have those kind of coverages. And that is where actually the satellite solutions that comes in. So just to give you a perspective, the first satellite was launched in October 1957, and it was done by Sputnik, the Russia launched it 1957. So that's roughly 63 years before 2020 that I mentioned here. And then the first, somehow the numbers are got deformed. But then the second satellite was launched on January 1958. That was by Americans. So from 57 until 2020, it was less than 10,000 satellites that were launched globally. Okay, but starting from January 2020 until now, it's more than 12,000 satellites that has been launched. So you can imagine in the last 4.5 years, more satellites has been launched compared to last 63 years, combined together. And this simply because the usage of satellite technology has gone into another level, and that is where actually the question, why bother? Why should we be, why should we also want to catch this train? And I always say this, everywhere I'm going, I'm saying this. The nations that will fall behind in technology will not be able to survive in 10, 15 years down there. In 10, 15 years down there, if we are not able to catch the technology train, we will not be able to survive. The country will be in chaos, poverty will be everywhere, and things will be in a different kinds of mess. So that is why it's very important that actually we catch this technology train. And one of the things that I'm tasked to do now is to make sure that to see that how do we develop the space and satellite technology ecosystem in Bangladesh, and how do we work around it. Another very interesting thing is that this is a research from a research company based in Hong Kong. So where they made this estimation, this forecast, that between this year 2025 to 2031, these 7 years, the compound annual growth rate of Bangladeshi satellite industry will be 15.2%. And this essentially means that by 2031, which is basically 5.5 years ahead of us, by this time, the Bangladeshi satellite industry will be almost 3 times of what we are now. So this essentially means that there is a need, there is a forecast, and the things will progress very fast. And how do we actually be ready about it? Once again, what I see is that the nations that have been leading in terms of technology globally, everywhere, the main, everything starts from the university, and that is why I'm really happy to talk about it here, because you guys who are here, the students, you are the future basically, and you are the ones who really have to understand this and take this mantle on your shoulder, and only then actually, as a nation, actually, we will be able to progress. I'll talk about a few solutions. So one thing is this, what we call it, this low Earth orbit satellites. So these satellites are the ones that flies roughly between 500 kilometers above the Earth, and then the topmost is 2,000 kilometers. So just to get things into perspective, the highest range that a commercial airplane goes into is 14 kilometers. So it's actually 14 kilometers. And then the lower Earth orbit satellites are in the order of 500 kilometers above, and then 2,000 kilometers. There are now a few low Earth orbit satellites. They have also come down as low as 160 kilometers. But that is still way above the commercial aeroplane height, which is maximum is 14 kilometers, 14. So these satellites are actually, the way it works, as I've shown you that, so this is where you have this is where you have the equator, and then the Earth is tilted by 23 degrees, and then the satellite, what satellite that this is one of these orbital path, so it goes in this way, and then roughly one of the LEOs, it takes roughly 85 minutes for them to circumvent the world for once. So in that way, basically, if you have a LEO satellite, it's actually doing the, going around the Earth in 85 minutes or a little bit here and there, a little bit plus minus. So once a satellite passes through Bangladesh, it's roughly around 10 to 11 minutes it takes to cross Bangladesh from south to north, or let's say from the southern border in our Bay of Bengal to our northern part, 10 to 11 minutes in that order. So what happens is that this essentially means that, for example, if it is 10 to 11 minutes, and then if you want, and a satellite is actually going in around, let's say I say 90 minutes. So this means that if you have around 9 satellites, then you should be able to have the coverage continuously. That you are, one satellite is passing 10, 11 minutes, next one is coming, covering the country, next one is coming, and so on. Just around 9 to 10 satellites that you need actually to cover continuously. And this is why we call it a constellation. So a number of satellites together provides the real-time coverage, provides the real-time connectivity to any land. And so what you do is that so you have a satellite user here, and then it's transmitting to the satellite from the terminal, just like same thing that we have the mobile phone. We call from a phone, it goes to a base station. In the same way you call, then it goes to the satellite, and from the satellite it's transmitted back to the ground station. And this is what we have in Bangladesh. We have 2 ground stations. One of them is very close by from here in Bedbunia, and the other one is in Gazipur. So we have these 2 ground stations. Signals are transmitted back to the ground stations, and from the ground station now it goes to what we call internet. So we actually, it goes to the source of the data, wherever you want to fetch whatever information. So in that way, these LEO satellites can be a very good ways of connectivity and providing many other solutions that I will now also will go through. So one of the things that LEOs can do for Bangladesh, I already mentioned. So there are solutions, so remote sensing satellites, which are actually LEO satellites, and they are actually now already in function in many developed countries. So satellites can take images, and by analyzing the images, you can actually determine the quality of the vegetation. How is your leaf? What is your leaf quality? How much water, is there in this plant, in this area? What kind of insects are there? You can take all of those images and you can do the study. And in that way, actually, in the developed world, these solutions have been used heavily, like a country like France or Spain or Italy, because they are, heavily. There's a lot of agriculture actually in those countries. And then in US, in Canada, and other places where there are a lot of agriculture. Those countries, one of the things that is very important for many of these developed countries is the food resiliency, the food security. That is what is this term, and it's actually becoming very important. Very soon, we listen about water. If the water quality is not there, then you cannot produce crops. If you don't have water, you cannot produce food. And if you don't have food, then you have to, import the food from somewhere else. Last year, just one example. Last year, when there was flood in the Feni, Noakhali, in that region, and then we had 3% shortage of rice crops, and that meant that Bangladesh needed to import actually 500,000 tons of rice for a 3% loss in the crops. So you can imagine, 500,000 tons of rice, meaning that that you just multiply it with the US dollar and just check how much US dollar goes out, to buy that food. So food security is becoming extremely important to all the nations who really think about it. For us, it's also very important. We are a country of 180 million people, and this population will probably grow a little bit, and then the anthropological, the forecast is that actually by 2040 onwards, we will start aging, and then actually also we will also see that population will start decrease. Actually, it's not very long time. It's just 15, 20 years down there. Then we will start aging. You see, one of the things very important is that Bangladesh is now seeing something that a nation sees only once in their lifetime. Okay, in thousands of years of history, every nation sees it only once, which is that at this moment of time, 30% of our populations are in the age group 15 to 29. Every nation sees it only once in their lifetime. And this is what is called population dividend. So now you have this, you have people who can work, people who can think, people who can produce. And what is very important is that, as I mentioned here, now we are in the positive curve, and the forecast says 2040 plus. Year 2040 and beyond, we will start getting aged. By 2040, I will be 65, so I'm also on the other side of the curve. So people will be, will start getting old, and then your cost of living and everything, the healthcare cost and everything will start rising. So very important is that by this time we create a lot of wealth for the nation. You see, example of a country is Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka became a country of the old people. The average age went much higher before they could go out of the poverty. And that is why their economy is now in a big trouble. So if we do not take care of this in the next 15 years or 20 years, we will be in a huge trouble in very near future. So that is why, to me, 2025 until 2040, 2045 is the time actually. The way we will grow, we will behave, we will work in the next 15, 20 years will really determine the future of a country that we call Bangladesh. And that is why next 10, 15 years is extremely important. So very important is this, so you can actually do this, you forecast by taking a lot of data of your agriculture fields, you can actually do a lot of forecasting. You can actually do that, where do you need water, where do you need irrigation, where do you need what kind of insecticides, where do you need what kind of treatment that you need to do. So that's one thing. Other very important thing also is this water body monitoring. You see, we have this huge issue. Now is the rainy season. the rainy season comes, a lot of the rivers change their directions. The rivers swell, they become much bigger, and it really impacts the livelihood of the people who live around the rivers. So you can also use the LEO satellite, take pictures, take the data, and then you can also do a lot of precautionary measures for that. You can also, I talked about agricultural monitoring. Very important is this flood monitoring. If you have a satellite-based flood monitoring system, you get a 72 to 96 hours head start. You actually know a lot of information well ahead. And on an emergency situation, 3 to 4 days are actually is a lot of time. If you know it 3 to 4 days in advance, you can save a lot of things. You see, last year what happened when there was flood in Feni and these areas. So what happened was that even all the pond, these fiber optic centers where the fixed line connections are given, even all of those centers were flooded. And then what happened was that everybody was disconnected. Thankfully enough, Bangladesh Satellite Company was there. So within 6 hours, actually, we sent the satellite receivers and so on, and we connected many of these, the DC officers, the army officers, all the people that really needed to do the emergency relief work. Another very important thing is the border monitoring. Once you have a satellite and you are monitoring what's happening, what kind of activities are happening in the border area, that already becomes a deterrent. There are people who really wants to, if they want to do something, if they know that you are monitoring, then it already becomes a deterrent. Many people will not try to do, unwanted things in the border. So this is also from the sovereignty and the security of the country. It also becomes very, very important. The other thing is this coastal monitoring. We have been talking about it a lot these days. So in the south of India, in the Karnataka region, so they use this, using the satellite, they basically can estimate that which part of the sea has larger, percentage or larger quality of fish. So in that way, actually, they provide the information to the fishing boats, and then the fishing boats exactly know actually where are the fishes. And in that way, I saw that from the 650 metric tons, 650,000 metric tons of fish that was their fishing yield in 2022, and in 2023 it was almost 1,900,000, 1.9 million metric tons of fish. So 3 times more the yield has gone to. So you can use technology in a lot of very very interesting ways. And I also, another thing also see that once we start using technology for producing crops, for producing, for betterment in the fishing, for betterment in terms of climate control and so on, in that way also we will also be able to, achieve the sustainable development goals of the United Nations that we have actually signed to in the charter. So a lot of things we can actually use the satellites, this technology, and we can improve the lives in the quality of life in Bangladesh. The other interesting thing is these drones. You can also use the drones in terms of, and we know what drones are, so I'm not going to go into that. The drones can be used for so many different purposes. I mean, one of the things you see, we have a big problem like Raju or the Chittagong city or Sylhet city or Rajshahi city. Urbanization has gone into chaos. I mean, if people have a land, people feel like it's my land, so I do whatever I want to do. But that's not the reality. Everywhere in the world, government actually tells you that look, in this area you can build this, in this area you cannot build this, and these are the sizes that you can use. And what happens is that, like in the Dhaka city, the urbanization has gone into such a big chaos that no rules are being followed and so on. You can use drones to do a 3D terrain mapping, and then use this information and provide it to the relevant authorities, and that authority now has all the data. In France, I have seen this project so what they did is that there is an affluent area, very rich people's area, and everybody has a swimming pool. And in France, actually, if you have a swimming pool, then you have to pay. There are some taxation, but they were not paying the taxes. So they send the drones, took the pictures, and then they send the bills to the household and saying that, look, you really have to pay these fees. So drones can also do a lot of things. You know, for the environmental forecast, I talked about deforestation. You can also use that for deforestation. We have another big issue, which is the polluting the water, right? In many different industries don't follow the regulations. The waters are being polluted. You can actually use drones to take pictures, and then you can send the pictures back to your control center, and then you can use some sort of AI model to study the picture and make a conclusion, and then enforce some regulation. And then, of course, the most important thing is the delivering, you know, emergency things like medicines, life-saving equipments, life-saving materials. I've seen a very interesting project in Kenya where actually they use drones for the medical services. And then what they do is that, let's say in Nairobi, they have a huge storage, but in any part of the city, any part of the country, they want to send things. They just use a drone and transmit it to the areas where it needs to be transported. So I mentioned these two technologies. One is the LEOs, and then also I mentioned these drones. And the drones can also actually do many other things. For example, there is a fire. So today what happens, our fire service guys, they have to go physically in there and really inspect if there is anybody in there or not. And fire service guys, it's a life. I mean, it's a risk that they take. It's a really great thing, noble thing that they do. They really take risk actually to save other people's life. But if you have a drone can go into the fire, check all the information and so on, and in that way actually you can reduce the risk for one of the emergency workers who are in place actually. So a lot of other applications that we can do, and we really need to go into this direction. And this is where I feel that the students come in. We really need these ideas. How do we really implement them? How do we really make them into reality? For this we need brains, and these brains are actually yours that we really need to. So that is why I want to ask you guys that really think about this. This is a technology sector where we really need to build the ecosystem. We need more researchers, we need more students, we need more people who can come up with ideas and find solutions for solving some of the challenges that we have in Bangladesh. So that is why I will urge all of you, start engaging in the robotics club, start engaging in the space and drone related clubs. If there is a possibility, join the hackathons, join the CTFs, the capture the flag kind of competitions. If there are opportunity, also join into this research on AI, on the IoT kind of solutions, the Internet of Things kind of solutions, and then other space applications. This is extremely important. If we do not improve in this direction, as a country, very soon we will be left behind. And that is why we need people like you guys to really, put up your interest and your brains actually into this. I'm very happy here because this is an engineering university, and I know that many of you have the right capacity. It needs some motivation. It needs some inspiration actually to get into this. I will finish with this, I firmly believe this, that the digital connectivity will lay the backbone of our digital economy of this country. The more we are connected, the more people that we will connect to the network, and then it will actually provide us even better base for our digital economy for the future. You see, there is one thing is, I haven't seen any research yet that the amount of taka that we handle, just handling the taka, I don't know how much money does it cost. Thousands and millions of the notes are produced. Millions of the notes are going into people. The notes get dirty. Then Bangladesh Bank collects them, destroys them, create the new notes. I don't know how much money is actually spent on just managing the notes, right? And once we go to the digital economy, you can actually see the country will actually save a lot. I was very interested to learn about this, and then I only saw very important thing is that we need a few things. One thing is the innovative ideas. We need investment in the infrastructure, in the policies, and the youth talent. That's very important. One of the things that I really see lacking in Bangladesh is that investors are ready to invest in the real estate or in the retail sales or in different things, but very few investors are ready to invest in the tech sector. Tech sector is a sector that really grows slowly, but once it reaches the maturity level, then it's really profitable. And this is what we see today in all the big tech industries. And I think this is where the investment culture in Bangladesh that needs to change. We really need to promote this more and more to the investors. And then, of course, to the young ones that I'm saying here, it's very important that we need more and more entrepreneurs. We see a lot of people that graduate and then they want to do a job. It's very good. It's very important. It's not unimportant. But we need a lot of people with entrepreneurial mindset. People who are ready to solve problems for the nation. People who will not only wait for orders. Instead, they will actually go and solve problems, and they will provide ways to others. And that is why I think the universities will have to play a big role in future, where we actually create this kind of inquisitive minds. And that is why, for you guys who are young ones, it's very important that use this time, in as much efficiency as possible. Use the internet and all the facilities that you have in a good way. There are so much knowledge available today in the internet. So much knowledge available. Use internet in the right way, not in TikTok or Instagram or Snapchat. Instead of that same time, use it to learn something. I have made it a goal for myself, and I got a lot of benefit actually out of it. So I want to tell you guys that the Bangladesh is on your shoulder. Bangladesh depends on you guys. It's not, I know that these esteemed professors are here, and I know they have a lot of knowledge and so on. 10, 15 years down there, most of us will not be in the job market. Many of us will be on the retirement side. You guys will be in the job market. And the job market will look very different compared to what it is today. The AI and robotics and automation is going to change the way we live, the way we work, the way we behave in fundamentally new ways. So that is why for you guys, extremely important to catch this trend, to try and learn that in which way, which direction the world is moving. And then if you are not able to catch this, then it will be a problem for you and for everyone else around you. That is why I urge you that make a center point in your life knowledge, learning new things, learning skills, learning technologies, instead of just having a degree and you leave the university. Go out with some skills. Go out with something that you can use to solve some problems. And that is when you will be actually very beneficial for yourself, for your family, for your society and the country as a whole, inshallah. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hope that this has been useful for you guys. Yeah.